Now we begin with our technical session number 6, Road Safety. Now we invite Mr. S.R. Tambe, Chairman Standing Technical Advisory Committee, STAC, Mumbai, to give a brief on the challenges of Mumbai and the solutions for the same. Mr. S.R. Tambe.
Dignitaries in the auditorium and delegates. I have been called upon to talk on a subject which really concerns all of us. But it is also true that none of us really pay any attention to that. We pay attention to this subject only when somebody from our family, some close relative, is involved in a road accident and we get the terrible news. Thereafter, we are all concerned. But till that time, nobody is bothered. As you will see later on, we proceed with the slides. The gravity of the problem in India, you can see from the table. So what I said earlier, in the paper you may read news about a grievous accident. We just say arere, and then move to the next page, sports page. Watch the sports news, forget everything, get up, tell the wife to prepare breakfast early and go on our lives. But really, it's a very grave subject. If you see the figures, the extent of damage which the road accidents cause to us, number of vehicles from 95 to 2019, they have grown from 3 crores to 29 crores. The number of accidents has grown from 3.5 lakhs to 4.5 lakhs. Then you can see the damage, the number of deaths you can see. Fortunately, the number of deaths hasn't grown that proportionately. Maybe because of some measures taken by government. And you can see the loss caused to the economy due to the accidents here. In 95, it was 32,000 crores. Today, it is 1,47,000 crores. This damage is caused due to vehicles being damaged, structures being damaged, people suffering their expenditure of their treatment, and loss of productivity and all that. The road users can be classified into vulnerable and non-vulnerable. Non-vulnerable are those who are riding a big vehicle. They are inside the vehicle, they are protected. But vulnerable ones are those, you can see pedestrians, cycle riders, motorbike riders, auto rickshaw riders. They suffer the most in accidents. And they are naturally the poorer section of the society. This is a figure, a concept many of you may know, many you may not know. This is called fatality index. It is a ratio of total number of deaths in accidents divided by the total of number of injuries at the accident site. It also includes the people who die. So it comes out as a percentage. And it indicates the system of caring for the accident victims. The earlier they get aid, they are saved. If there is delay, naturally, they suffer. Sometimes the people who handle the injured person may not be that badly injured, but in handling him badly, they sometimes cause paralysis or further damage to the victim. So people must be trained to handle. So this ratio shows how good our system is. If you see the figures of fatality indices, a country like Malawi was 21 or 22% people die. And next to it was India with 19%. And if you go further down, you will see more developed the country, the less is the ratio. In countries like Norway and Sweden, it is even less than 1. In Japan, USA, UK, it is in the range of 1, 1.2, etc. In less developed countries, Eastern European, it is slightly higher. Like that it goes. In India also, there is wide variation. In states like Punjab, it is 42%. In a state like Kerala, it is 5%. It indicates probably the sensitivity of people, the way the medical aid is available. In Kerala, if you travel, you almost have unbroken built-up area. So probably the hospitals are closer, and that may be one reason. But it also true, probably the people are more sensitive. They go to the help of people more. Now, to overcome this, the suggestions are that, the fear in the people's mind, that if you get involved in helping an accident victim, they will have to face trouble with the police. And they may have to undergo a lot of harassment. That should be driven out. In the police personnel, you should have a feeling that rather than catching the culprit, the priority should be on saving the victim. If that can be instilled in them, I remember one very comical piece written by one Marathi writer where they have described a scene where some animal comes under an ST bus. And people naturally say that it should be taken out and ST bus should go ahead. But he says, no. What about the police? A Panchanama must be made and FIR must be registered. Then only the bus can go ahead. So in the end, the piece shows that the bus is stalled at the location for hours together. And ultimately, the animal, I think it's the buffalo, on its own gets up and goes away. So that's humorous, but that is sometimes true, that people are more concerned with what happens to the culprit rather than the victim. As I have said, that road accidents I can speak as a road engineer. In the departments, a junior engineer or an assistant engineer will be hauled up if there are potholes on his roads. But he will not be questioned if there is an accident spot on his roads, because nobody is bothered. As I said earlier, you are bothered only when somebody in your family gets hurt. And I can tell you from it's a horrible thing when an accident occurs in a family, what happens. I have undergone that personally. It's a terrible tragedy. The whole life of the family is turned upside down for a small accident. But there is apathy about it. Now, causes of accidents are generally, I have classified them into 4. Driver's errors, vehicle defects, environment including other users of the road, and road defects. In our work as accident committee in Maharashtra, we collected data from various police stations. And we found that 85% or 90% of the accidents are causes classified as driver error. It's rarely the error of the user or defect in the road, nothing. It's 85 to 90% driver's errors. This is actually what I said. There was one experiment conducted in England where they found that in residential area that experiment was conducted, so it was found that if the vehicle is traveling at 20 miles per hour or less, the injuries to the victims are almost negligible. If the speed increases, they are more grievous. And at 50 miles an hour, deaths occur. So that's a very telling figure. So it's a lesson to us to drive with the speed which is suitable to that road at any given time. What I find, you must have also noticed it, when many drivers drive, particularly maybe the chauffeurs or professional drivers, sometimes one finds that what can happen if a little accident occurs, that is not in their thinking. They are kings of the road, sitting behind a powerful vehicle and driving along. But in a second, the whole thing can turn topsy-turvy. They may be their breadwinners of the family, sole support, old parents, dependent children, wife. Everything can go upside down. That doesn't enter their head. They just drive. So I wish that this particular aspect is impressed upon them during their driving training. According to me, the figures of the police are very telling. They classify most accidents as driver's errors. What I feel, we read in the papers that it is the potholes on the road, badly designed roads, no road signs and all that. But ultimately, to my thinking, it comes to the drivers. If a driver is sensible and is experienced, and if he finds that the road is bad, he ought to drive slowly. If he comes across a blind spot, he ought to drive slowly, stop. If you are leaving your building compound and entering a new road, big road ahead, you ought to dead stop, look on both sides and then enter that. But that we don't see in India. People just drive and blame the road authorities. I remember one very telling experience in my own family. I have a cousin who later on retired as a high judge of the court. But during his younger days, he was known to be a very, very, very rash driver. 3 times he suffered accidents and broke his bones. But he would keep on driving very fast. So once I told him meekly, "Ki, why don't you drive slow? The roads are not that good. Their shoulders are not correct." His reply was, "You see, I have paid my taxes. And it is the duty of the road authorities to keep them in good condition. So they must keep it in good condition. I will keep on driving like this." But that kind of attitude really serves nobody. Ultimately, you have to see what kind of roads you have and then drive accordingly. If you see people walking along the road, crossing the road with their mobile phones or earphones in their ears, then who can help them? You see so many videos of like that. I mean, you must have seen them. Boys and girls going along with their music and suffering accidents. You know, there is a concept called forgiving roads, forgiving road environment, and forgiving vehicles. So if an accident occurs, the damage should be in minimum. That is the concept. One extreme example of this I can tell you, in some countries, the roads on high banks, their slopes are made so flat that even if the driver loses control, the vehicle can be brought back. I mean, the slope is so gentle that it need not go tumbling. It can be brought back. So that is an extreme example. Another example is trees near the roads. If you read newspapers, probably every third or fourth day you read a news report about an accident which has occurred because a vehicle at high speed has hit a roadside tree. Only yesterday I was surprised to read an accident on express highway Mumbai-Pune where a vehicle is reported to have struck a tree. And when that happens, there is no escape for the occupants of the car. You will see very high number of deaths because the vehicle traveling at 70-80 kilometers per hour suddenly comes to a dead stop in a millisecond. And so everybody in the car dies. So we must remove these trees from near the road. Naturally, of course, you will people saying that we should not remove the green cover and all that. I remember in car here, in the road, right in the center, there are trees. In the road widening, and there were trees by the roadside earlier, they have become in the center. So once I was talking to somebody, as my work in accident committee, requesting this should be removed. He was so angry, he said, "Let people die. What does it matter? It's the green cover which is, planet must be saved." I mean, ultimately, planet is to be saved for human beings. If there are no human beings, who cares what happens to the planet? I mean, of course, one should care about green covers, but road is not the only place you can plant trees. There are so many acres of land elsewhere. But sometimes people go to very great. I remember once while widening road near Waluns, near Aurangabad, a similar problem was faced. There was huge old trees in widening, making it 4-lane. We had to remove some of them. But people were adamant. They said, "You can't touch the trees." So we should be sensible. Secondly, about this forgiving vehicles. Of course, many vehicles are now being made forgiving. Earlier in the cars, we used to have steel fans. And inside of the vehicle was not so cushioned. Now they are cushioned. We have got airbags, we have got seat belts. So that has helped a lot. But that is what is called as a forgiving vehicle. Now this is a very interesting statistic. Research has shown that after every 13 years, your eyesight becomes half. Its strength reduces to half what it was. And therefore, if you see everything when you are, say, 20-year-old, you will see half of that when you are 33-year-old. This is depicted humorously in the series of slides which come after this. If a 20-year-old driver needs 2 headlights to see certain thing, 33-year-old driver will need 4 headlights. So 46-year-old will need 8. 59-year-old will need. So when you drive, you should take your own age into consideration and realize that you don't see things that clearly. On the other hand, the road authorities must design the signage and the lighting on the road in such a way, considering that average motor driver in our country may be 55, 60, that age. But sometimes that is not realized because the road engineers are all youngsters and they don't realize that older people may not be seeing things as. If you drive along Mumbai, you will find many road signs which are very small. I mean, young people can see them properly, but older people while driving they cannot catch that message on the road signs that quickly. So they should be made of proper size. Now recently, probably because through STAC we kept on requesting, you will be surprised that I have been pursuing that subject. Just after my retirement as secretary, I took up that subject and kept on sending letters, showing these PowerPoint presentations to municipal authorities. Ultimately, I am glad that 3 years ago, that message has struck home. And at least now they have made names of roads of big size. You must have noticed them. It brings great relief. But I mean, they should have been a little higher. That is why my only grouse. Because if there is a taxi standing in front, you cannot see them. But anyway, at least half the goal is achieved. I mean, because the time is short, I made it very short. Just a few slides to show the concern which is bestowed on this subject abroad. See that number of drums in front of a divider. They are called attenuators, impact attenuators. If a vehicle hits a hard object, it suffers less damage. Those drums are filled with water and they are tied to that, of course, but that reduces the damage. Now this is very interesting. I was driving along a road, winter time. You see those chain link fencings, can you notice in front? They are there to arrest any boulder rolling on from the hill slope to stop them from coming on the road. But interesting thing, I was just not related to accident. You can see one face with ice, the other not without. Because sun rays fall on that, so that is clear of the snow and the other one is covered with snow. Now see this long vehicle, that board at the rear. I don't know whether while driving, when you want to overtake a vehicle, if it's a vehicle of normal length, it's easy. You can quickly overtake. But if the vehicle happens to be long, then you sometimes can get surprised and caught in a nasty situation. I will tell you, in Nagpur, some years ago, on Wardha Road, those familiar with Nagpur will know, a road leading to airport, one young couple, immediately after marriage, they were traveling to airport, probably on way to their honeymoon or whatever. But along the way, one long vehicle was there. And without knowing that it was a long vehicle, the fellow started overtaking. And from the other side came a truck. And then they had no place to go because this vehicle was long and they died on the spot. So to avoid that, this is necessary. This is in England. In America, they have a long bar. Instead of that board, America and Canada, they only have a long bar below. So people know that this is a long vehicle. So I wish that in our country also this is adopted. You can see barriers we had an accident prevention committee. And as I said that people are not sensitive, but I must say that my minister at that time, Mr. Gadkari, on my retirement, next day he called me and said, you are going to do this work, accident prevention committee. For the next 8 years we inspected 29,000 kilometers of road, suggested several measures, and it reduced the number of accidents in the state. I mean, only go into this particular slide. That spot is no longer like this today. But such blind spots are causes of accidents. And we are told by engineers that they are pressured to put up big plantation right in the center of the road. And that is what causes such blind spots. And this is an ideal traffic island. We can see through. And in Mumbai, we should aim at this. I mean, these are two slides just to show that the footpaths are occupied and we need to pay attention to redesign. I mean, these things are necessary for people, but we could perhaps redesign. The tree by the roadside, see these trees on Kolhapur-Ratnagiri road used to cause accidents. They are removed now. The facility and the village on opposite side of the road, they causes accidents. Ladies traveling, crossing the road to fetch water from the water source. An open well by the roadside. So thank you very much. I know my lecture was a bit disjointed, but the time was too short. It's a big subject. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I request Mr. Ramamurthy to please come up on stage and present the memento to Mr. S.R. Tambe.